So we got another project in. We're still in the middle of our big truck. It's turned into a humongous job on top of what I already thought that we was gonna do. But in the meantime, we've had another drag car dropped off. Y'all check it out. I'm pretty sure that we're not doing any paint work as far as repainting anything on this front end. I think we're just gonna touch up a couple of spots where the paint's busted on it with the leftover paint that we have from doing the doors. But the doors definitely got some work to them. These drag cars, there's a lot of cracks just from using the cars and how fast they go, and a lot of pressure comes off the line. And this is a very common thing if they race them for a season or even two. It's just the nature of being in racing. And then like a lot of these spots right here, because the doors come off and the front end comes on and off so many times, that a lot of times they do get skint and busted. But what we're going to end up doing is stripping a majority of these doors to get all the cracks out and all the, the thick paint off. Try to keep it as thin as we can. So I'm gonna be fixing these cracks. It's pretty much cracked all the way down the bottom of it. Gonna try to feather that out. This door is probably the better of the two. This one right here is a rough one. It's pretty much this whole, all that's cracked from slamming it a lot. And a majority of the door. And this little rig I got set up right here by the doors, I built it. It's time for me to probably do some more. Basically, it's just some box fans I got all hooked together on some plug-ins. I can plug it in and it sucks it out, and it kind of helps like pull all the dust out of the shop without making just a real big mess. Comes in handy. I think I had like $100 in it. Not too bad for what it does. I'm gonna throw you guys on a tripod. We're gonna start DAing. So this is usually the part of the video where I've got some music just to blare and just to kind of help speed things up or make the video more enjoyable. But I'm gonna start doing some of these voiceovers. I had a couple people asked to try to do some stuff like that. So what I'm doing right now is I've got a dual action sander, or a DA sander is what a lot of us call them. And I've got some 80 grit on it, and I'm just really filing down all these layers of paint. On these drag cars and stuff like that, generally they're painted several times and they've been primed before and they're skim coated with filler. And so you really kind of got to spend some time just going through the cracks. You can't. So as I'm kind of going through sanding all this stuff, getting all these cracks, I've got those fans going behind me. I think one or two of them broke. When I first built it, all 5 of them are working fine, and I just got to replace one of them. But it really comes in handy. If you got a little garage or something, and you do some body work building something like that, it helps out a lot. Because I got the fans going, I can just kind of blow that dust with a blower. It kind of goes outside the building, and I keep on trucking sanding. There's still some dust in the shop, but it really helps on keeping the dust and all that stuff down to a minimum, or kind of keeping it where I can send it where I want it to go, to where it doesn't get as much all over the place. And these doors are crazy light. You can kind of see them holding in one hand, sanding. It's kind of just scooting everywhere. These things may be 5 pounds, maybe 6 or 7, but ridiculously light. A lot of times it feels like you're sanding cardboard, because it's just, it bows and it moves around that easily. So when I'm on the other door now, you can kind of see the cracks that are on it. And it's just a part of drag cars. Anytime there's doors, they're always skim coated, and then they look real nice. And you slam it, 50 or 100 times. These guys get in big hurries, and it just busts. There's not really any way around it. Every drag car I've ever seen that's been raced for at least a season by like real racers that are really kind of getting after it and in a hurry in between rounds. So in the comments, y'all let me know how my voiceover's doing. Usually I'd be having some music in at this point, but I know the music kind of annoys some people. So I've been trying something a little different, but I am struggling to find kind of stuff to talk about while this video is kind of playing. Trying to kind of wait to where it gets to another spot where I'm talking in the video, explaining what something's going on. On the sandpaper, I've got 80 grit DA. There's all different kind of brands, all different kind of companies. Stuff, some of it's really expensive, some of it's not too expensive, some of it lasts real long, some of it doesn't last too long. I may go over that in another video. If you guys have any questions about that, just holler at me in the comments and I'll be glad to kind of send some links on some of the stuff I use. I use a bunch of Sherwin-Williams products. The BC8 line really and truly is all the paint that I use. Phenomenal line. Love that stuff. And you can kind of see my fans are working really good right now, blowing all this dust off straight into the van. It's kicking the dust straight outside, and it's keeping a lot of it not from going everywhere in the shop. So that little thing right there is probably some of the best $100 I've ever spent as far as some homemade equipment at the shop. It looks kind of redneck, but it really, really does come in handy. And now I'm going back and forth just chasing these scratches. And I wish this Bondo wasn't so thick, but it is. And when I go to straighten all this stuff out, I'm going to have to put some Bondo back into it. Unfortunately, I'm going to have to put about as much as in it that I took out of it to get everything level. Other option is to strip the doors down to bare carbon, but the customer wasn't wanting to really do all that. And it would have probably quadrupled the price of the job if I was to go in and strip everything down to bare carbon, epoxy it, and then skim it. So I don't blame them. We're just trying to get to where we can make it through, another. So this is our driver's door, and it's just most of these doors they're full of Bondo. It's just the way 99% of these race car doors are, because the carbon fiber is so wavy. They try to skim it to make it look a lot straighter, and it does make it look a lot straighter. But then after a while, all the vibrating and the slamming, you crack it. It's just how it's gonna be. It's always gonna crack eventually, being this kind of racing and slamming and all the torture that these kind of doors go through. This one ain't too bad. I actually painted this door about a year ago and fixed a bunch of cracks and things like that in it. So it's, not as bad as the other one, but race car doors, they just don't hold up, which is good for me because that means I get to fix this stuff every so often. I really enjoy doing this kind of work. It breaks up the normal collision work. So right now what I'm doing is I've got my mud mixed up, and it's Sherwin-Williams Ultra, their fast line, I do believe. I really like it. I can't tell the difference between it and Rage Ultra, except Rage Ultra is like $100 a gallon, and this stuff's like $50, so about half price. But it's basically the exact same stuff, just has a different label on it. Really like this. It's not a crazy high build filler, but then it's not a real thin filler, and it's super easy to sand. So it's kind of like that mix of having a good filler body and being easy to sand.
Bondo just got done with a Bondo let sit overnight just because it was about time to shut down for the day. I've got all my Bondo wiped down, or my body filler, plastic filler. We call it Bondo in the body shop. But I've got it laid down. Now I'm fixing to start sanding it. I'm going to start with a DA and some 80 grit, just buzz over the top, knock some of the top off of it, and then I'm going to start with a block with some 80 grit.
So I got my DA with some 80 grit going right now, and all I'm really doing is just knocking the top of it off. Just going over any of my lines, any of my edges, stuff that I know without a shadow of a doubt is going to come off in the sanding process. I'm going to go ahead and get it off now. That way, when I go with my block, I don't have to spend as much time blocking the filler, getting the lines or anything out, because it's already out. But I'm using real light pressure too, and I'm not trying to stay in one spot or dig myself a hole. Just buzzing over it back and forth, kind of gently starting to, work it down. And on right now at that angle, I keep the DA flat, but then sometimes you have to bring it up on an angle to keep it flat to the spot you're going to be sanding. A little hard to really sit there and explain without me actually doing it and talking and showing to you. But like right now, I've got the bottom side close. So I really hope you guys are enjoying this whole video and everything right now. And I'm still struggling to find things to say in the voiceover and kind of explaining what's going on, because it's basically, it hadn't changed. We're sanding the Bondo at 80 grit on a DA, just like we did the other door. But I was kind of really wanting to catch some of the footage of all this stuff, because doing this body work, it does take some time, and there is a lot that goes into it, and a lot of it's boring. It's just, repetitive, wipe some mud on, sand it down, block it out, do it again. But that's what it takes to get everything nice and straight, especially on carbon fiber and fiberglass, where a lot of times, if it's been messed with, especially, that you're having to add more to it or do the exact same step multiple times to get the result you want. So if you're new to doing this and you're finding yourself having to wipe areas like this multiple times, that's a normal thing. Just with any of this kind of stuff, it's a lot of back and forth until you get it, how you want it, until where you're happy with it. Now, when you go block sand these doors, you gotta get a little creative because they don't weigh nothing. So like right now, I got one hand I'm holding on to the door while the other hand I'm blocking. Normally, I like to have both hands on the block. You can tie them down sometimes with some ties or ratchet straps or things like that to hold them still, but they do have a lot of give because they don't weigh anything. They don't feel real. If you've ever messed with drag car doors, you know exactly what I'm talking about. They don't feel like real doors. They feel like pieces of fiberglass or pieces of carbon fiber. But I've got 80 grit on the block right now, and I've got one of the middle firmness blocks. It's not the super flexible one, and it's not the super straight one that doesn't have any give. I think it may be called a semi-rigid, but I like them. They cut really, really fast, and they cut really, really straight. So they're definitely a game changer in my book. I was using the Durablocks for the longest, and when you use a Durablock, then use one of these, it's a night and day difference. Just any of the polycarbonate or the acrylic blocks, they're all like it. So if you don't have any, get you some. Don't matter what brand it is. It's a world of difference using polycarbonate and acrylic versus foam and rubber. And right now I'm just kind of, working the filler back and forth. Or I say working the filler, working my block back and forth. And doing a little bit of an X pattern. It's an angle cut one way, and then there's another angle another way. And that generally gets you pretty straight. But there's a body line that goes from one end of the door to the other, and it's really sharp, and then it kind of starts to taper off. And those are pretty tricky, trying to match on where they taper and where they keep straight. And a lot of times I'll get the filler as close as I can, get everything as true as I can, prime it, guide coat it, and I'll block everything out with some long boards and then reprime it. So these are doors in the booth. They're masked up, cleaned, ready to go. Everything's finished in 150 grit and some 320. And I've got everything plastic, ready to prime. Now, any of you guys that do paint body work probably sitting there thinking this boy has lost his mind using a solid 5500 HVLP to prime with. What happened was my primer gun tore up on me right when I was fixing to prime all this stuff. And I don't use this 5500 much at all for anything. If I ever do, it's sealer. I've got some other kinds I use. So I said, why not? I cleaned it out real good right after I got done using it, but it is not ideal to use a gun like this to prime out of. But when you're in a pickle, you already got everything mixed, you got to do what you got to do. But I've got part 2 of this video coming out soon. I just didn't want it to be an hour-long video. It seemed like it would have been if I would have done everything from this portion and then the second part from blocking everything down and painting everything. But I really, really, really appreciate all the new subscribers, people commenting on my videos. I'm trying to spend more time getting to do these videos because I do the work all the time in the shop, but trying to film and edit and stuff is tricky. But I owe it to everybody that's watching this stuff that kind of see some of my shorts and some of my TikToks to where I can do something cool on there on short form, but then don't really get to do the long video of it. And I'm missing out on a lot of it. But I appreciate each and every one of you guys. Any questions or any comments or anything, drop them in the comments. I love to hear from y'all. If there's anything you missed or anything I didn't explain, please put it in a comment. I'll do everything I can to answer those. Hope you guys have a great day, great weekend, great evening, and I'll see all you guys on the next one.